Hey everybody, welcome to Salt. I know it looks like we're sitting in our house.
We are sitting in our house.
But we weren't always here today. As a matter of fact, we went somewhere today just for fun. And we did a full spectrum philosophical tour of creation versus evolution. We started at the Creation Evidence Museum in Glen Rose, Texas.
Yes.
And then immediately went to Dinosaur Valley Park, just down the road.
Yes.
So we got both ends of the spectrum.
Yes.
And
Well, we wanted to do something indoors where it was cool.
yeah.
Because here was 95, but over there, just 30 minutes away, it was 100.
Yeah.
And it was amazing when we got to the park, the state park.
Yeah.
How many people were outside hiking?
Yeah.
And in 100-degree weather.
Yeah.
Yes, and no, we couldn't get out of the car and do salt there. We're very sorry.
Yeah, it was pretty hot.
Yeah.
So, anyway, here's a quick video of some of the fun stuff we saw at the Creation Museum today on our trip to Glen Rose. All right, here we are at the what museum is this? This is what is it?
It's just the Creation Museum.
The Creation Museum here in Glen Rose, Texas, and we're going to learn all about why dinosaurs aren't real. Actually, I'm not sure what's in here. Anyway, it's over here. It says Creation Evidence Museum of Texas. This is going to be quite the tour. I thought this was kind of cool. This castle. I remember having this like as a toy. It was not a model kind of thing, but it was. It came with this play set we had. It was this pretty castle. And over here we have. That's the bacteria flagellum. It's Italian.
No, it's not.
What we have here is a model of the Black Pearl before the movies, and that's what this display is about, the Pirates of Pitcairn. So here we are at Hammond's Barbecue in Glen Rose, Texas, after having a full spectrum philosophical tour of creation versus evolution. First we went to the Creation Museum, Evidence for Creation Museum, and toured all of that, and then immediately went and drove through Dinosaur Valley National Park. Yay! So, Aspen, tell us, what is your overall impressions of the Creation Museum?
It's outdated.
It's outdated? Little outdated.
Could be better.
Could be better. Anything specific?
It was a little random.
A little random?
Yeah, upstairs they had some exhibits that it was hard to find the relevance in them. As interesting as they were, they didn't particularly pertain to anything that the museum was about.
Yeah, yeah. it was interesting. Creation Evidence Museum, and then upstairs they had stuff about here's the Jerusalem and the history of the Jews and interesting stuff like that. So yeah, it was kind of interesting. And most of it was just reading. It was a lot of just stuff with placards and stuff you had to read.
It was like a giant essay in a room.
Yes, big essay. She's asking. So now our food's here. So, Austin, what's your official position on Hammond's Barbecue?
It's good.
It's good. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. The in-depth analysis of food preparation and taste from a future food critic. It's good. All right, so that was fun.
It was fun, actually. It was interesting. Some of the stuff they had was very interesting.
Yeah,
yes.
I'm not a big fan, but
Well, we went because
we'd never been.
Yeah, we'd never been, and we had driven past it several times on our way because it's right next to the Dinosaur Valley Park. Yes.
Yeah, and it's just it's kind of outdated, and everything's reading. And I mean, my brother used to work for museums and lay out museums and design museum exhibits, and so looking at this, it was just like, wow, this could really use a lot of help. And like Aspen said, even the upstairs was like, all right, so what's this about?
That's true. The downstairs was definitely like evolution versus creation and such. Yeah. But the upstairs was a hodgepodge of Israel.
The stuff about Israel.
And the Ark.
Yeah.
But then it also had, some old carriage from...
Yeah, that was a sleigh, not even carriage.
That was a sleigh.
And an old car. You saw the car, the sleigh. There was the Apollo mission, and a hodgepodge of things. I thought that was quite, and you saw the whole little case of stuff from Jurassic Park. Was seemingly a little out of place, but whatever. But anyway, now we would like to turn to our critic and get the final word on the rating scale visitor tour grand evaluation of ratings and scales. Aspen, where do you rate the Creation Evidence Museum?
On a scale of what?
1 to 10.
A 2?
A 2. A 2. 1 being the highest, so she thought very highly of it, apparently. No. So anyway, it could use some help, but it was worth going.
It was. It
does have some interesting that you just have to read it all, and it's, kind of printed out on paper and covered in the, page protectors.
I take it back. I give it a 6 for vibes.
6 for vibes.
Yes.
It did have kind of a cool vibe. Retro, yeah.
Yeah, it was definitely a retro.
The retro vibe, yeah. Anyway, so that was fun. And also in the mail today came, a photo album. I made a photo album of Aspen's early years, and from 2007 to 2013. And if Mom or Kathy are watching, I'll be sending this to you. So happy late Mother's Day, birthday, all that. Yay! Anyway, so today, that's for me. So now I'm going to kick it over to Miranda.
Okay, well, we're just going to start with what we're talking about today. But I had a thought, and then I thought, I kept thinking, what am I going to do with this? What am I going to do with this? Where is this going? And not too much was ever popping into my head. But the thought was that a small puddle or a small spring, basically just a small one, of pure water coming out of the ground hydrates more than the vast ocean. So the ocean may have a lot more water, but it's actually going to dehydrate rather than give hydration. So what we're studying for Sabbath school actually came to my rescue today, or this week basically. And so Brett is going to explain that part for you. This last week, this Sabbath school was studying Revelation chapter 8 about the trumpets and such things like that. Mm-hmm. So Brett is going to explain how that works out with the springs of water. and why we're tying this
together. So yeah, we've been covering Revelation. We did the 7 churches and the 7 seals, and of course the next thing is the 7 trumpets. And so they were talking about the trumpets today, and part of that is, am I boring you?
No, maybe I don't know, didn't get enough sleep.
Part of that, and when they did the whole trumpets, well, they didn't do all the trumpets. They did the first 4. Is that right? And I think it was the 3rd trumpet or 4th trumpet that talks about, the 1/3 of the stars went dark, and 1/3 of this and that, and the great star wormwood was cast down, and it spoiled 1/3 of the springs of the earth. And so they were getting into the symbolism and what does it all mean, and part of it is the springs of water. The water's there like the living water, and it represents the gospel, represents truth, represents God's truth, the Bible, God's gospel, and that kind of thing. And that the falling of the stars, those 1/3 of the stars were the 1/3 of the angels that fell from heaven, and wormwood is another name for Lucifer, and that when they were cast to earth, that Lucifer has poisoned, diluted, adulterated, whatever, the gospel, or trying to destroy God's image. And that was the symbolism that Revelation is getting to in that trumpet, about 1/3 of the springs of the earth being bitter by the falling of wormwood into the water.
Right, and it basically, the idea was that it infiltrated the water filled the water with untruths, basically.
Yeah, like marring the image of God. So the pure gospel was turned into because of man's traditions and the twisting of the precepts of God and the law of God, and making the gospel more works oriented, and anything and everything that involves taking the truth and twisting it and turning it into something that's not the truth. It's not, and basically it was the distortion of God's love, or the distortion of God's image.
Right, and you mentioned in Sabbath school how the whole of Revelation, basically the book of Revelation, is an illustration of the great controversy in general.
Yeah, well, again, they're getting into specifics, and when they start talking about the seal of God, and what is the seal of God, and how the remnant sealed, and what does that mean? It's God's law, keeping God's commandments, specifically the Sabbath. I mean, they get into all of that, and I try to take those things and kind of like sum it, and what we're really talking about is this. This is the heart of the core of the issue. Because you can really easily get bogged down, as we saw today in Sabbath school, the specifics and the details, and trying to understand all the very specific descriptions of things and what do they mean, as opposed to here's what the true heart of the matter is. And Revelation is really illustrating the very core of the great controversy, which is all about choice, freedom of choice. Who will you choose to believe? Who will you choose to serve? Who is God, basically.
Right, and I found it interesting that the one guy made a comment. Basically, he's like, I can't really see myself sitting down and explaining, say, the 3rd trumpet or the 2nd trumpet to someone who might ask,
right.
Because it was so indefinite or confusing, or not a solid answer to
right.
it. And so I thought, okay, that's true, but there is one thing that we can explain to others, and others can see in our lives, is us living out our love relationship with Jesus, which is what the gospel of the Bible, the gospel is all about, is the overarching picture of God's love for us and our fellow man as well, and how we are to live out that love.
Yeah. And if we had been teaching it this way, not that Rob did a great job. It's just, we might have focused on, so how is the gospel, distorted and watered down today and in the church, but also in our lives, and so, looking at, if this is, what it means, then what's the practical reality of that, because it kind of goes into this, what I thought Miranda was saying was that the cup full of pure water is far more hydrating than the vast reaches of the ocean, and it's true.
Yeah, because I was just reading an article this last week about how salt water even, of course, it causes plants and such to not grow. And so, anyways, that's getting a little bit off where we're going to go. But I also had another thought this week was the most important person at the moment in our lives is the one that God puts in front of us at that moment. And, it is our privilege to give to them and not to take from them. That's what the gospel is about, is to love God and love your fellow man. And that's giving to them and not taking from them. And we're not to try to take the speck out of their eyes. We are not to use them to our advantage, but to fully share the springs of water, which is basically just living out the pure truth of God's love and His mercy that He shares with us. And so when He shares that with us, we need to share it with everyone else, not just those that we feel deserve it, certainly those that we feel don't deserve it at all.
Yeah, and I like that. You said something in Sabbath School too, that what was it, beauty, truth?
Oh, the beauty of truth is that it remains a truth whether you choose to believe it or not. Yeah, I forget what we were talking about basically, but if you've ever had someone tell a lie about you to other people, trying to make you look bad and such, which has happened to me a handful of times, and the first time it happened especially, you just want to run out and tell everybody, it's not true, I wouldn't do something like that. But I got to thinking about it, and I was like, well, I know how it is in my own life. Like when you hear an accusation made against someone, it's easy enough to believe it, basically. And even if that person comes along and says, I didn't do it, well, now it just becomes this, you don't know who to believe. And so I thought, it's really not going to do me any good if I run out there and just start telling people, I didn't do it. And so I thought, you know what? I satisfied myself with the truth of it, basically, is that the truth remains a truth no matter what other people choose to believe. And so the truth of God also remains a truth, whether we or they choose to believe it or not.
And that's kind of, also like when we're studying Revelation in Sabbath School, you see that throughout history, that truth is truth, and it survives all through human history.
And maybe they can believe the truth if they see you living it out.
Yeah.
And offering them true springs of water instead of, pouring salty water on it, basically.
Although sometimes you feel like, here, have a big sip of this salty water because of what you did to me. But that's not a good thing to do, even though we feel like it sometimes. Not me, though. Others.
No, right.
Friends
right,
I have
yes.
have told me about that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Anything else?
No, we're just wrapping it up short today, and yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, so hopefully you guys are staying cool, because, oh my word, it's hot in Texas.
Yeah, gotta hand it to the Texans. I tell you what, out there hiking with their kids in 100-degree weather, I was so impressed.
Yeah.
But not impressed enough to do it myself.
No.
Thank you.
Way back in the day, but boy, even then, I'm not sure I enjoyed hiking in 100-degree weather. But yeah, we're part of I think we're in the middle range of the heat dome that's hitting the country right now. We're not in the hottest part, but we're like right next to it. Yeah, and I tell you what, times like this where I envy the North and South Dakotans.
Oh, right.
Because their heat dome is 70 degrees.
Yes, well, even my sister in Colorado, she said this morning it was raining and 75. And I was like, oh, so lucky.
Yeah. So,
yes.
But not here in Texas.
But I was thankful it's only 95 here where we're at.
Yeah, that's true. Anyway, so yeah, thanks for joining us, and hope you had a great Sabbath. And we're going out and maybe do some other fun things and take pictures and video and share it with you next week. But we'll be somewhere next week, and hope you'll join us, and we'll see you then.